This is a warning to anybody involved in the democratic political process. And although it's something that happened in a little regarded ex-industrial town in the north of England, it's something that the political analysts in the Anglosphere generally will be studying right now. And although they may not acknowledge it, they'll be sitting in back rooms right now discussing all of this very earnestly. The Workers' Party of Britain, which took the seat, is, well, first of all, it appears to be the death knell for the Labour Party for sure, and a good chance that it's also a death knell for the Conservatives a bit further down the line. But it's not the Workers' Party of Britain that they should be worrying about. It was the independent candidate which should give them the nightmares. I'm Grannyopteryx. Okay, so where's Rochdale to start with? It's a town of about 250,000 souls, and it's seen better and richer days, for sure. It's been a political and industrial backwater for years, and it has a high Asian birth rate from the immigrant families that settled in Britain in the 1950s. Originally, they came to man the textile factories, and after the textile factories had all closed down, they went on to run grocery shops, taxi services, kebab shops, and what is euphemistically referred to as grooming gangs. Okay, not all. But on the other hand, the law-abiding and non-grooming gang Asians did not turn in their, less moral co-religionists. There is a certain cohesion, even though they knew that these people were doing wrong. Rochdale has been politically ignored for years, with a solid and immovable working class Labour vote, originally because of the factory background, but more recently because Tony Blair's governments were passing laws that the Muslim communities found congenial. However, all children grow up and leave home, and sometimes they kick their parents in the teeth on their way out. So it is in Rochdale. And on Thursday, the honour of representing that town in Parliament has been won by George Galloway, an exceptionally intelligent and politically cunning man who represents not so much the interests of Rochdale as the interests of the Muslim fundamentalists who've taken control of the area despite their lesser numbers. As the Reform Party found out, this domination has been achieved by a combination of Muslim communal solidarity, as I mentioned just before, Pakistani-style mob politics, and violence as well. And I should also guess quite a bit of corruption, but that's just my guess. All of which has been completely ignored by the major political institutions and which will not be talked about in subsequent analyses. But the major political institutions got their comeuppance in this past week. And if you look at the Rochdale by-election chart here, this nice colourful thing, this is Galloway's party. It will always be a party of one because Galloway's that sort of person. But he got 40% represented by this Islamic green bar here. Then there's an independent, then the Conservatives, then Labour, then the Liberal Democrats, then the Reform Party. Now, this is the thing that all the political parties should be worrying about. In Britain, there are very strict rules about how much you can spend on an election campaign. So your ability to disseminate your message, it depends very much on how many people you've got delivering leaflets and canvassing for you. And that means that independent candidates are usually at a colossal disadvantage next to the parties that have some sort of structure and volunteers and members and donors and all the rest of it. The Conservatives, were running such a lackadaisical campaign that the candidate went on holiday during the campaign, and even so they won more than the Labour Party, which used to be king in that area. Some of the Labour Party vote will have gone straight over to the Workers' Party of Britain, of course. But the fact is, the Labour Party, nobody trusts them. The working classes do not trust the Labour Party anymore. And so, although you might expect a lot of the Asians voted for the Galloway Party, the white working classes, some of whom have very trenchant opinions about the way the Asians are running things in Rochdale, they didn't vote Labour. And some of them may have voted Conservative, but more of them voted Independent. People are no longer trusting the major political parties, and since electronic communications of various sorts are evening out the odds with regard to volunteers canvassing and that sort of thing, they're going to be voting more for independence now than has ever been the case since, I don't know what, the 18th century, when people were representatives of towns and not representatives of political parties. And this is something that I think a lot of the political parties will be chewing their nails about. Right, that's my rundown on the Rochdale by-election. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.